Let's have a quick conversation about the trucking authority. And we want to talk about how do you get actually your MC and dot number. Okay. So here is what you need to know. The thing is, when we talk about trucking authority in general, you have to understand this is typically a big step in starting a trucking company because the whole thing is that you are actually delving into a very competitive industry and highly regulated industry. So you got to have an MC and dot number. Okay. And the cool thing is that you can actually apply and receive things a lot faster if you know how to apply in the first place. So when we talk about MC authority, when we talk about dot authority, when we talk about dot number, MC number, what are we talking about really? So let me first define what is operating authority. So operating authority is required to, like if you are a carrier and you transport passengers or freight in interstate commerce, you need authority. In other words, so when we talk about authority, we are basically talking about interstate commerce, okay? So the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, that's the federal government, is basically the government agency that regulates the trucking industry and basically grants active operating authority by issuing motor carrier MC and US dot number. Okay, so those are the two numbers that you might need depending upon the niche that you're in. So MC and US dot numbers serve as unique identifiers for your trucking company and help the federal agency, the FMCSA, conduct inspections, monitor your safety scores, maintain compliance reviews, and more. So that's really important. Now, who really needs MC trucking authority? It really depends. So remember, I spoke about interstate commerce, right? So basically, the entities that require MC trucking authority include motor carriers and freight brokers who transport freight across state lines. So everything starts when you actually are crossing state lines. This is very now. If you are, let's say, if you are in a state and you do not cross state lines, you may not need MC and US dot numbers. This is really important. So I explained to you who needs MC authority. And the big question is, who does not need MC authority? Because there are certain circumstances where carriers or freight brokers, for that matter, are exempt from obtaining MC authority. And one such exemption applies to intrastate carriers. That's what I told you a few minutes ago, right? So intrastate carriers who exclusively operate within the borders of their own state and do not engage in any interstate transportation. So if you are in New York and you only focus on New York and you do not go to Jersey or Connecticut or Rhode Island or Massachusetts or whatever other states, you do not need authority. And so if you are part of those carriers, you do not really need MC authority because you are solely focused on serving the transportation needs within your state. Another exemption applies to private fleets. So those fleets are owned and operated by businesses exclusively for their own goods transportation needs. And since private fleets do not transport goods for the general public, they're not really required to obtain MC authority. And there are also specific situations where MC authority is not required for carriers. For instance, carriers transporting non-regulated cargo, such as certain exempt commodities, may not really need MC authority. Additionally, carriers operating exclusively within a designated commercial zone may also be exempt from obtaining MC authority. So if you are listening to this show right now and you have a question about whether or not your company, your trucking company, needs MC authority, please let us know in the comment section and we'll certainly get back to you. We'll analyze your situation and we'll certainly answer you. Now, is the MC number and US dot number the same? Because some people are kind of confused and people are asking questions. The thing is that the MC number and US dot number are not the same, although they are both important for carriers operating in the trucking industry. The US dot number is a unique identifier assigned by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. It is required for all commercial vehicles involved in interstate or intrastate commerce, regardless of the type or size of the vehicle. And this number helps track a carrier's safety record and compliance with federal regulations. On the other hand, the MC number is specific only to carriers involved in interstate operations. Also, brokers require an MC number but do not need a US dot number. So if you want to get into the broker business, you do not need a US dot number. So while both the MC number and US dot number serve as identifiers for trucking companies, they're not both required for all commercial vehicles. Let's talk a little bit about money, more specifically about cost, right? How much does it cost to get your own authority? Because there is a budgetary element that is involved here. So the FMCSA charges about $300 to file the paperwork and get your authority issued. And the thing is, there could be some complementary cost depending upon the niche you're in, depending upon your own company situation, and also your safety record, your existing safety records. Okay, and when we talk about the $300 in terms of filing the paperwork and getting your authority issued, this includes your MC and dot numbers. And additionally, if you want to reactivate your authority, that costs $80 to $100. And if you need to change the name on your paperwork, that costs about $14 to $34. So you have to understand, an MC number or a dot number is an active thing. It is something that's alive. If you do not maintain it, you have to reactivate it. And if you want active authority, you have to spend significantly more. And so that's really important. So we actually have covered on another video, another show, what it really costs to start a trucking company, including other filing and registration fees, insurance, down payments, and taxes. So this is what it is. So you really, give or take, think about $500 to $1,000 if you want to start a trucking company. Now let's talk about the types of operating authority. So basically, when you think about the typology of operating authority, you got to really pay attention to the unified registration system, because this is the platform where you apply for your MC and dot numbers. And basically, when you go to that platform, you'll realize that there are several different types of operating authority you can choose. If you apply for the wrong one by mistake, no refunds are ever given. So it is not easy to fix those mistakes. So you got to really pay attention to what you really want exactly. So long story short, the three main types of operating authority are motor carrier, broker, and freight forwarders. So you have this trifecta. So you got to really ask yourself, in which category do you find yourself? So depending on the type of operation, or let's say the cargo you carry, you might need to have multiple operating authorities. And so most applicants will register within the Unified Registration System, the URS, online to obtain operating authority. However, the process of applying for authority from the FMCSA is not really straightforward and depends on whether you have applied before, because the thing is that you got to really ask yourself why. Like if you applied before and you got denied or something, you got to ask yourself what was the reasons. And the government will want to dig a little deeper to see what's really happening with your application. Let's talk about the process. So when we talk about the MC authority application process, what kind of methodologies do we have here? Well, this application process, when it comes to obtaining operating authority in the motor carrier industry, can be a complex and time-consuming task. So the entire process can take anywhere from 20 to 60 business days. And really, this depends on the specific circumstances. So applying for a motor carrier authority requires meeting certain requirements and submitting the necessary documents and fees. So to ensure a smooth application process, it's really important that you follow the steps I'm going to share with you. You got to follow these steps thoroughly. Now, it's really important to make sure that you always have the opportunity to ask for help. You can hire a third party to sort of coordinate the whole process for you. If you feel like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this, I don't have time, or I don't have the knowledge for it. So you can also ask us in the comment section, and we'll certainly get back to you. We'll explain to you what you have to do, and so on and so forth. So the very first step when it comes to the MC authority application process is for you to create a business entity. So to apply for your MC authority, the FMCSA will consider your cargo type, your company type, and more. That's really important. So when we talk about a company type, we're talking about LLC, S corporation, C corporation, LP, whatever it is. But the government will consider your company type. So this is why the first step is to obtain your EIN from the IRS and establish yourself as an official business entity. You got to be a legit business. So carriers and brokers must also be approved for liability and cargo insurance coverage. The government will check that, making sure that you have the right insurance in place. This is crucial because without coverage, you cannot proceed with the FMCSA registration process. The government is really sort of adamant, making sure everybody has the proper insurance. So step number 1, create a business entity. Step number 2, you want to apply for your US DOT and MC number. So the unified registration system is really where you apply for your US DOT and MC number, replacing several older forms and creating a single online registration system. So to obtain your DOT number, proceed to the unified registration system portal and follow the instructions. You cannot proceed with your MC authority until you have obtained your DOT number. And once you have obtained your DOT number, you can start your MC authority application. So you want to gather your truck information, including VIN, year, weight, etc., and corporation details and license plates if applicable. And keep in mind there is a $300 non-refundable filing fee. Next, you want to file BOC3 paperwork. So BOC3 stands for a blanket of coverage. So blanket of coverage is an important element because it is basically the legal document that designates a process agent in each state where a trucking company operates. This is kind of similar to a registered agent when you talk about LLC. Okay, so this process agent really acts as the company's representative for important legal matters, and is basically responsible for accepting legal and court documents on behalf of the company. So this is the same thing as a registered agent, but it's just that in the trucking industry, we have the BOC3 sort of paperwork. So to file a BOC3 paperwork, you'll need to provide the necessary information about your designated process agent, including his or her name, contact information, and the states where they will be operating on your behalf. It's important to ensure that the process agent is willing and able to fulfill these responsibilities. The government just wants to make sure this is somebody who is open during normal working hours to receive legal documents and regulatory documents on your behalf. And we do not actually advise you to be your own process agent. You want to really segregate. You want to segregate tasks here so that you can shield your privacy. You can shield your personal information from the public. Step number 4, you want to file your Universal Carrier Registration Permit, your UCR permit. So the UCR permit serves as a verification of active insurance coverage, and it really ensures that your operating authority is up to date and valid in the states you operate in. And your MC number and DOT number are required for this step. So luckily, you should have already secured liability and cargo insurance by this point in the process. However, it's still an important part of the process. So you got to really have a clear idea of where you are at. Next, you want to pay the heavy vehicle use tax. So the HVUT is kind of important. And this is the funds that are really generated from the HVUT sort of a process are used to actually ensure safety on the roads, on public roads, and also to actually finance regulatory activities within the trucking industry. So HVUT is actually an annual tax assessed on all heavy vehicles operating on public highways, and it's important. So now this tax is essential for maintaining compliance with federal regulations and ensuring the smooth functioning of the trucking industry. The trucking industry is generating billions upon billions of dollars every year. It's an important foundation of our country's economy. So this tax is kind of essential for the government. Okay. So to pay the HVUT, you'll need to file Form 2290, also known as the Heavy Highway Vehicle Use Tax Return with the IRS. And this form requires you to provide information about your vehicles, such as the VIN number, so which is the vehicle identification number, as well as the gross weight. And the HVUT payment is based on the weight of your vehicle, what cargo you hauled, and how far you hauled it. The funds collected through HVUT are used for, as I said before, compliance, various transportation-related purposes, including the maintenance and construction of highways. Remember, paying HVUT is a vital step in maintaining your motor carrier authority and ensuring really compliance with federal tax regulations. Also, you cannot register for IRP, which is the International Registration Plan, until you have submitted your Form 2290. Next, you want to register for an IRP. So that's what I just spoke about. So International Registration Plan. So as a carrier, you must register for an IRP, which is basically an agreement among 48 states and Canada. And so the 48 continental states. So those are the 50 states excluding Hawaii and Alaska, right? So the IRP actually allows carriers to register their vehicles in one location and pay a portion license fees to operate in other jurisdictions. And the fees vary actually based on the amount of time operated in each jurisdiction and can range from $1,500 to $2,000 per vehicle. And so by registering for IRP and obtaining apportioned plates, what happens here is that you are actually empowering your trucking company, because the company will have the necessary authorization to operate across multiple jurisdictions. And this really streamlines the process and ensures compliance with regulations in each state. Step number 7, you want to set up an international fuel tax agreement account, so the IFTA account. And the IFTA is kind of similar to IRP in the sense that it is a similar agreement between 48 states and Canada for collecting taxes on fuel use. And quarterly returns must actually be filed in your home states to maintain compliance with IFTA. And other states may require additional permits in addition to an IFTA license. And so to be certain that all regulations are being met, you need to really, right now, if you're listening to this show, you need to start familiarizing yourself with the rules of any states you will do business in. And so the last step, and this is an important step as well, you need to enroll in an FMCSA drug and alcohol testing program. And this is actually a program that is random. And the government just wants to make sure when you actually are driving, you are really sane and safe. Okay, so once you have your MC authority, dot number, and permits, you need to complete one more step. So the FMCSA actually mandates all CDL drivers in your organization to join a drug and alcohol testing program. And the FMCSA and USDOT have set rules for testing, substances, and frequency. And the FMCSA provides instructions, all kinds of instructions on stay compliant with their drug and alcohol testing requirements. And the bottom line here is that when you really think about it, it's just an extra layer, an extra step that guarantees, there's no guarantee, but at least that optimizes the use of public highways, that improves the safety for all users, including other drivers. So, and this is an important element. So those are the 8 steps that you need to really follow to actually get your MC and dot number. And if you follow this process, chances are you could be approved within 3 to 6 weeks. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Here is a recap of today's conversation. So I spoke to you about how to get your MC and dot number. So I explained to you what you need to know, the process, and now the recap. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.